incredibly important is deal with the literacy of our residents.
That's right.
There's a lot of research around early childhood education.
Yep.
I like what de Blasio is focusing on in New York City. There's a lot of research in terms of if a child is not engaged early in education, that it will become increasingly more difficult for them to continue education going forward. That people who are engaged early have better outcomes, tend more likely to go to college, more likely to earn more money, more likely not to be imprisoned or go to jail. So our job is to make sure that we have universal preschool, right? That we bring all of the preschool organizations together in the city, all of the preschool organizations in the city, all the early childhood organizations together in the city, and have them think out what are the barriers to stopping us from getting our kids involved in. As a matter of fact, when Adler versus Burke was at its height, and we were funding early education, test scores started to improve in the early grades in the city. That's a fact. So our job as the city officials is to engage more of our children as early and as often as possible.
That's right.
So we have to create universal preschool. And we have to put preschool in places sometimes. We have to find the space, if you will. And we have to begin to invest in that and use all these other institutions to help us do that. Even if the hospital has a space in the hospital where they can have preschool, we need to engage the hospital.
Right.
We need to use this space for some kids in this neighborhood, in this community, right?
That's right.
And then it also has to be attached to literacy. So it has to be attached to adult literacy,
That's right.
too.
That's right. That's right.
So we can't support the One Newark plan that says close down the only adult education school we have in the city, right? So which is counterintuitive to what I just said and counterproductive. You know, we have a tendency of people on this, high horse saying we want to help children, we just don't want to help their mother, right? So,
how about that?
That's right.
Right. We need to help families, right?
Yes.
And what Dr. Wells said and what Dr. Johnson said and about parents being involved in educating their children in many spaces is incredibly important to have mothers, grandmothers, fathers who are literate to be able to do these things that we say that they should do.
That's right.
And so we have to have a very robust literacy program in this city. We have to train young people, college students, community activists in literacy and literally send them out into neighborhoods so people don't have to come to programs, that we bring the programs to them. That we have literacy programs in public housing. That we have literacy programs in senior buildings. That we have literacy programs in hospitals. That we have literacy programs at universities, in schools, in all institutions in the neighborhood, that we create an environment, like was said, of learning in these cities, in these communities. At Southport Councilman, we put something called Southport Reads. The idea was to create opportunities for kids to engage in print reading, rich material, and they should do it all places. What we tried to do was tell all of the coaches in the South Ward, whatever you coached, whether debate coach, basketball, wrestling, swimming, that you use an hour of practice a week.
That's right. That's right.
Stop practice, read something. Right? Citywide, we need to promote the kind of thing that says, listen, all activities that you do, we need to promote an hour or so in that week to literacy and print-rich activities. All practices. Football, fencing, basketball, wrestling. I don't care if you got a state tournament coming up next week. When we come to that school on an hour in that week, you have to be reading. Right? These are the kind of things that absolutely, positively need to happen. One, we also need to fight for this kind of community engagement that's missing. It is obviously and clearly missing. Because people don't believe that the parents of Newark have enough sense to know what their own children need.
Right. That's right.
And that's on both sides of the debate, by the way. People don't believe that people can figure out what it is that they should have, even anecdotally. Because I live here doesn't give me enough credibility to say what my child actually needs and wants.
How about that?
Right? I shouldn't be in the conversation simply because I did not go to school with you. Which is incorrect. And that's not saying anything negative about, people say when I say that, something negative about people going to school. Hell, I have 2 degrees. Right? So it doesn't mean that we're opposed to that. What it means is that you don't belittle people, you know, and you have to appreciate people's experience. Right? And I'm going to tell you another thing. Some of our parents do have degrees. But I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we have to engage parents before we plan, not after we plan.
That's right.
We have to engage communities before we decide to close down 50,000 schools, not after. We can't have a community meeting to unleash the One Newark plan, right? We have to have engaged the community to think about the One Newark plan.
Right.
Because if it was One Newark plan, then why didn't One Newark plan it? Right? So, it's more like the one-person plan.
Love it.
The reality is, we create in the mayor's office a committee on comprehensive education that exists in every neighborhood, every ward of this city, that is made up of parents and stakeholders in this community, and parents of all schools.
That's right.
That's right.
And I say that because there is no, this whole idea of charter parent and traditional school parent is fictitious, really, right? It's a figment of few people's imaginations. So there may be some parents in our board meetings and other things who have charter kids, and that's it. I don't know many of those parents, though. And there's some parents that may have their kids completely in this. The parents I know have a kid in Spark and a kid at University High.
That's right.
They got a kid at Newark Collegiate Academy, right? And a kid at over here at Bridges. They might have a kid in a youth house.
That's right. That's right.
And you hear what I'm telling you?
Yeah. Keep it real, bro.
A kid in a youth house and a kid at Seton Academy. I don't know those parents. These people know, right? The parents I know come to me with all kinds of configurations, right? Of all kinds. I know parents that were in one school and moved their kid from the one school to go to another school to play sports, got another kid down the street. I know parents whose son has to take the younger daughter to school, right? They walk their daughter to New Horizons and New Community Charter School, and then after they drop them off, they walk to Central High School themselves, right? So I don't know the parents that they're creating. What I do know is of Newark parents who live in this city and are trying to find a way to educate their kid in a very kind of tense, contentious, and dangerous environment. That's what I know, right? And our job as officials is to make sure those parents have an opportunity to talk to each other.
Right.
And engage in the educational process in this city. I might believe one thing, right? As an individual and as a politician, as an ideologue, I might have my own ideas about what education should be, what I think works, my ideas about charters, my ideas about vouchers, my ideas about all of this stuff, right? But I have to give parents the opportunity to be at the table and engage me about my ideas. I don't have the right, and neither does Cammy, to force what I believe on 30, 40, 50,000 parents. And if I think I'm right, then I'm going to argue with you and hopefully convince a few of you that I am correct. I'm not going to suspend you, beat you, demean you, falsely characterize you.
Have you arrested?
I'm not going to do all those things, right? So ultimately, we have in democracy, you have to be brave enough to sit somebody in the room with you who completely disagrees with what you say.
That's right. That's right.
Right? You have the right to defend your ideas, But in democracy, you have to have the character to defend other people's right to say the ideas that they have as well.